Hello, friends. Uncle Marv here. This is the Uncle Marv podcast, something I started a couple of years ago, like so many people in the world, sitting around at home trying to figure out what to do during COVID. And I said, let me start a podcast. And it was a time where I could sit and chat and hang out and make Facebook become a reality and chat with family, friends, and almost famous people. So we are going to be doing that tonight. And the reason we're doing a special show tonight is because with all of the recent news that has been flowing around the world with the money flowing into junior achievement, I've had a lot of people asking me, Marvin, weren't you a part of that? And I said, yep, I was. Hey, can you tell me a little bit about that? And so I would tell people my experience. And then I thought, why don't I put something together where I can get a lot more people, some of my friends that are still involved with junior achievement and still doing the work. And let's talk about what's happening in junior achievement now, because it has been many years since I have been a part of junior achievement. I did work at a local office here in Fort Lauderdale for a couple of years, but then I moved on, started doing some other stuff, and run my own business. And I attribute a lot of that to junior achievement. And you'll hear stories from people that are working from junior achievement and even a current student that is excelling and prospering with the system here. For those of you watching this or listening for the very first time, and you want to follow this podcast, you can head over to unclemarv.com and you can see some of the past episodes where I've had other junior achievement friends on, some friends from high school, college, and again, some almost famous people. And we'll be having more in the future. So sign up and hit follow on one of your favorite podcatchers, and you'll be able to follow along with the show. But tonight, I'm going to get busy with some of my friends here, and we're going to start. I mentioned that I worked at a local office here in Fort Lauderdale once I finished grad school. So we're going to start with Junior Achievement Fort Lauderdale. Joining me now on the platform, Lori Salarillo from Junior Achievement of South Florida. Lori, how are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for spending some time with us. This is something that we probably should have done a long time ago.
Exactly. I did not even know until I got your email that you had history with the JA South Florida office. So I'm thrilled to get to meet you. I'm
Well,
going to pick your brain after this.
well, I'm sure I don't have much that you don't already know. From what I hear, you have been doing a fantastic job at that office, an office that I worked at for 2 years back in the early 90s, back when it was just a small office, just 5 of us on staff. And I think we barely scratched 5,000 students. And one of my coworkers became president, and she was starting to do a fantastic job. Unfortunately, we missed her, an unfortunate accident. But you now have come in and have taken the reins, and tell us what's been happening.
Oh, well, it's been about 7.5 years since we lost Melissa. And I joined, I guess, about 6, 7 months after she passed. And this past year, lots of things have changed and continue to grow. We have really grown our footprint in the high school levels. But I think more than anything, I mean, this year we hit almost 70,000 students
Wow.
last year that we served. And I'm really proud of some of the things we're doing, so I think we're kind of setting the trail for some other JAs that are kind of now saying, hey, I think I want to do that too. So we love being pioneers.
All right. So I mentioned when I was in the office, we were just hitting, around 5,000. We had just started some of the school programs. We were doing I think it was the 5th grade, the 8th grade, and the 12th grade. I forget the names, but I know Project Business. applied economics and something else. But now junior achievement is a full K through 12 curriculum. And I don't know if you guys are doing all of that plus the company program. So tell me where you're at.
No, we actually made a decision probably about 3 or 4 years ago to only focus from fifth grade higher.
Okay.
We have the largest, I believe, we still have the largest single facility in the world, and I think there's somewhere around the mid 30s or so number of buildings. And so we focus on BizTown, which is fifth grade, then eighth grade, which is Finance Park. And then we've gotten, as I said, heavier and heavier into the high school level. We have one of the most robust, I think, JA Fellows programs in the country. We also have a program called JA Career Bound, where we actually, once the program is complete, kids are actually placed into jobs, paid jobs. And then we also have a pre-apprenticeship in the marine industry, which we're planning on expanding into a couple of other industries. So we're doing some really cool stuff, filling the pipeline, right? Not just doing the training.
Very nice. Very nice. Now, one of the things I think that has led to the success of your office is probably you, because you grew up in Fort Lauderdale. You weren't born here, but you were pretty much around here, involved with Leadership Broward, doing a lot of stuff down here. You're heavily involved in the community. Do you think that that has been a huge part of the success of the South Florida office?
I think a huge part of anyone's success is about relationships, right? And so I've been in this community now probably about 31, 32 years. And I'm a people person, love building relationships with people. And so all of those relationships that I built on committees and being involved in the community, hopefully, you hope people will follow you and follow your leadership. And so far that's worked out okay. And we've built lots of new relationships as well. It's constant, right? It's ongoing. So, and we love it. And we have a great team. We're a team now of 51.
51. Wow. That's, I was imagining how we would do what we did with 5, and 50 is amazing.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of what you have attributed your success to has been your team, putting the right people in the right place. And that's a lot of people to put out there. And you have to round up a ton of volunteers to reach that many students. So tell me some of the things that you guys are doing in the community to help get the volunteers and to keep the name of Junior Achievement out there.
Well, first of all, we have a really large board. We have almost 70 people on our board. We have pretty much reinvented it. There are still some long timers on there, but a lot of them are, I would say, anywhere between, we keep bringing new people on, but most of them are probably in the 3 to 5, 6, 7 year range. And we've really figured out, I think, how to engage our board. That's 70 tentacles going out into the community, right? We're really big with social media. If you are on LinkedIn, you will see I have a huge presence. Our organization, people are out there posting. Our board members are posting. So we have a very engaged board of ambassadors, I call them, who really are about building bridges and helping us. We've grown our development team, our volunteer management team. And again, it's really about going out there, telling the story and building the relationships. And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
All right. Now, when I was there, we only did a couple of events. We did a bowl-a-thon and we did the golf tournament. And you guys do a lot more of that now. You've got a nice little black tie affair. You've got some other nice events out there. But then you are also so involved with the community that the governor decided to appoint you to the Florida Endowment Foundation for Vocational Rehabilitation Board of Directors. That was a couple of years ago. Are you still involved with that?
So I actually am governor appointee on 3 boards.
Oh, okay.
One is the Early Learning Coalition, which if you think about it, right, early learning for those parents who have to go to work, right? So it's workforce, because if we don't have childcare, right, our parents can't work. So I've been on that probably for about 18 years. I was appointed by Governor Bush. Then I was appointed to the Able Trust, about 2 years ago. For those that don't know, I have a 30-year-old with Down syndrome. And so employment amongst people with disabilities is much higher unemployment, right, in that population. So that's a personal passion for me. And then about a month ago, I was just appointed by Governor DeSantis to the Career Source Florida board. And there, I like to think that I represent all of the Florida JAs.
All right. I got to get on my research team. We missed some of those.
That's okay. It's a lot. Sometimes I can't even keep up.
Now, I mentioned at the top here that a lot of funding has come in and junior achievement has gotten a lot of attention. And of course, the question of, where do you see the future of junior achievement going? You've made big strides from the time that I was at that office until now. So where do you see things going from here?
Listen, our budget has gone from probably 3.5 to 7.5 million. So going too much further scares the life out of me sometimes, right? Because that means raising more money, but I never let that stop me. I think for our team, for our organization, we'll go heavier into the youth employment that we're doing. We actually were just asked to take the lead on that for Broward County to build a pipeline of 8,000 to 10,000 students. So that means a lot of partnerships, and we wouldn't be doing that by ourselves. That and the pre-apprenticeship. It's a really big need in our community, is really getting these kids straight into the workforce. So I could see, if I really want to dream, I could see a workforce center, possibly in a different building, because we don't have enough room anymore. We're out of space. So I could see us definitely doing more in that high school, right? That work-based experience of pre-apprenticeships, youth employment, entrepreneurship. Somehow we have to figure out how to help these 25 teams a year that we have in the company program and fellows program. We got to figure out how to help them start, right, real business, the next business, the one they want. So I could see us definitely going into the startup area a little bit. So, and I also think about social enterprise. I think the bigger and the more you do and the bigger you get, the more funding you need. Well, who knows, right? If we're going to have inflation or recession, right, that gets harder sometimes to raise money. So we need to look and think about earned revenue streams. So how do we create a social enterprise where we put our students to work in a business that also generates revenue that supports the program? So kind of serves both purposes. It's really mission driven. So those are some of the things I think I see on the horizon for JA.
All right. Well, I am going to wish you success. And of course, we are going to see each other and do that catch up that we mentioned. I hope you can hang around to the end of the show and we'll catch up some more. But I want to thank you for your time here.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I look forward to meeting you in person.
All right. Now I am joined by Denise Schaefer of Junior Achievement of Central Ohio, and we have student Kelsey Hill with us. Ladies, how are you?
We're great. Kelsey actually is an alum now. She's a college student who's still engaged in working with our office.
Yay. All right. So Denise, people that have watched our podcast before or listened have heard us before. You were on in the very beginning, and a friend of mine back from the NAJAC days. And
that's aging us.
Well, I wasn't going to say the age. We were doing that before Kelsey was born, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my! So you have been involved in junior achievement. Let's see if memory serves correctly. Did you start right out of high school working for JA?
I was involved as a student in JA for 4 years in high school. Then I volunteered through college. And Jack Kozakowski, who's now the JAUSA president, was my program manager in Toledo, and he got me a interview for a job out of college. So yeah, I'm almost at a 36-year career with
Okay.
junior achievement now.
All right. So it wasn't high school, it was college. So I
Mhm.
tried to get you in there a little quicker than before. Kelsey, you are a member of, let's see, it's called Brainwave.
Yes, I am.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So I started the company program my senior year, which was last year, and I'm from Hoover High School. So Brainwave was our company program team, and it was 10 of us. I was the chief marketing officer, and it pretty much is a 90-page cognitive activity book that encourages people to keep their mind active. We kind of focused on the aging population, people who are more at risk for Alzheimer's and dementia and those progressive brain diseases. So the activities in the book correspond to a different part of the brain. So it's mostly research backed. We met with neurologists, and yeah, it was a lot of fun to do, but it also taught me a lot because I had no idea about anything with the brain before, and now I know a lot.
I'm sure that's exciting. Denise, was this one of the groups that you took to the National Student Leadership Summit?
We did, and not only we took 3 teams to the national summit. 3 of the 15 finalists came from J of North Central Ohio, and Kelsey and her colleagues won first place.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So does that mean like full ride scholarship to some place?
We got $3,000 scholarships each, so 5 of us went, and now in the spring we'll do the global competition and represent like junior achievement of JUSA. So that's exciting, and that's coming up, and we're looking forward to it.
All right.
And Marvin, they didn't finish their company. So their JA company dissolved, but they've gone ahead to keep their company going and formed an LLC. So their entrepreneurship endeavors will continue with Brainwave.
Well, that's fantastic. So Kelsey, is this something that you guys think you'll just continue as long as you can, or is this going to turn into your actual official business?
We definitely want to keep it going. The 3 of us that are doing it, it's myself and then Jesse and Jimmy Halmacy, and they go to the same college as me. And so we've been working on it, and we're still in the process of becoming an LLC, but we're excited to see where it goes. We want to create an app and do a lot of different exciting things and still do competitions. And yeah, so I don't know. We'll see, but definitely keeping it going for now.
All right. So Denise, you must be pretty proud there.
We are.
Your office apparently has kept the JA company program spirit alive. Tell me about some of the other stuff you guys are doing.
Well, we do have 19 JA companies that are up and running for this school year. So we added 3 new schools. And Kelsey and some of her other alumni group came and volunteered today at our startup conference, and they're all willing to continue to volunteer with all of our companies. So that is pretty exciting that our student alums are now volunteering. So that's good. In addition to the company program, which was one of our focuses for our office, we are also kind of looking at growth at the high school level. Here in Ohio, SB1 passed last November, which is requiring a full semester financial literacy course for graduation for our high school students. So I've worked with my colleagues in Ohio and JAUSA, and we have created the first in the nation in Ohio financial literacy course that we are now marketing to our schools. We're piloting in about 36 classrooms this fall, and those numbers will just continue to grow. So that's pretty exciting too. That junior achievement can help meet a need with schools for this graduation requirement. Our office is also focused on middle and high school work and career readiness in that pathway. So during COVID, we started a program like some of our other colleagues across the country called JA Inspire with a virtual career exploration fair. This year, we're taking that up another level, and we're going to be holding 3 in-person Inspire to Hire events for juniors and seniors that may be looking for jobs or internships or other opportunities to stay right here in North Central Ohio. And then we've just hired a new staff person that's going to take it even further, after our Inspire events, working to get those students connected with businesses and jobs. So that's pretty exciting. Let's see, our office received a grant in a partnership with the Ohio Farm Bureau. So we've added a staff person that's working on behalf of all 8 Ohio offices. And Christy is out connecting with each county's farm bureau and other businesses because there's a definite need going forward for people to work in that area. So that's kind of fun too.
All right. So,
Yeah.
Kathy, one last question for you. So, I know you guys you won at the Leadership Summit. So, outside of winning, what was probably the biggest thing you got out of being a part of Junior Achievement?
I got a lot of things out of Junior Achievement, and I tell a lot of different people what I did get out of it. I think definitely just the experience in general. Like, I wasn't really sure. I knew I wanted to go into business, but like doing the company program, I wasn't really sure like what aspect of business, and getting like to be the chief marketing officer of Brainwave definitely inspired me to like know what I want to do with my future, but also like just different like soft skills and like communication, networking, just skills that I don't really learn from school. I definitely gained like from being a part of Junior Achievement, and definitely good connections. I'm still very involved with Jay of North Central Ohio, and I love it. So definitely inspired a lot of different things for my future, and I'm very grateful for that.
All right. That means that I'll probably see you on one of my trips to Ohio.
Hopefully.
All right. Well, ladies, thank you very much. Denise, I'll give you the last word. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's a wonderful time to be working for Junior Achievement. Our mission is right there. Students need to know more about financial literacy. Entrepreneurship is big. That's the future of our country. And work and career readiness is very, very important. So we're here at the right place at the right time. And it's really a fun time to be working and being involved with Junior Achievement.
All right. Well, thank you guys for sharing. And hopefully we'll see you guys back here in a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And now we go from North Central Ohio down to the state of Georgia. All right. I am now joined by Helene Lawless. Helene, how are you?
I am great, Marvin. Terrific to be here, and I'm so inspired listening to Kelsey. I appreciate Denise having Kelsey join us.
Well, I think Kelsey will be inspired by you. You are one of the products of Junior Achievement. We met at the national conference, and you are now president and CEO of Path Builders.
I am.
And you have attributed a lot of that to the teachings and learnings of Junior Achievement.
I have, yeah. I mean, I've really kind of never left JA. So like we were hearing, I mean, I too, 4 years of high school and did the whole from the worker bee up to being an officer, and attended what was then the national conference, and then staff for a dozen years, and then advisor to the company program in both Chicago and Atlanta. And I've just never really left. I've been on the board of JA. I'm laughing. I'm one of those people that Lori spoke of, those old timers that are on the board. So I think I've been on the board of JA of Georgia for about 15 years, and executive committee for about a dozen, chaired for a couple of years. So
Yeah.
it's in my blood. I will say my family, the business that I own, Path Builders, we help organizations move women forward. I've owned it for 20 years, and my family absolutely attributes it to my having been in JA. Like, they just knew that someday I would own a company.
They probably thought you'd own a JA office too, didn't they?
Maybe. Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what keeps you, in that mindset where you have to have your hands involved in junior achievement? I know a lot of people go off, they'll start their business, they may attribute stuff to junior achievement, but they're not still serving on the board and being as involved as you are. So tell us what motivates you.
Yeah, I was initially motivated when what we call JA Fellows. It was great to hear that. What we call JA Fellows, when the company program kind of came to, I'm in Atlanta, and when it came to the Atlanta area, that was always where my passion had been, and so I got involved as an advisor, and that's why it's so wonderful hearing Kelsey, like, remembering the energy of all of that. But we were really at a point in Georgia where we too, probably 10, 15 years ago, wanted to narrow in our focus around middle school and high school and really do some innovative things. And Marvin, what keeps me engaged is JA, and Denise said this, that the mission of this organization has never been more relevant. And I think the pandemic actually only demonstrated that more clearly, that if we're looking for equity, we are the mechanism to create that for students. And so, through the various ways we've been able to in Georgia approach that, it inspires me every day, the work that we do. And I feel like JA so uniquely brings together the education world with the corporate world, with in a systematic way that I think creates opportunity that just doesn't happen without JA.
All right. So just like everybody else, I'm sure there are some things that are kind of unique to your Georgia office there. So why don't you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, so you saw in the video, you saw something called Discovery Center. So that's our name for the capstone programs of BizTown and Finance Park. When we build facilities around that, we call them Discovery Centers. And that was our first. That was a shot of our first that's actually inside the Georgia World Congress Center. It's unbelievable, the growth and the receptiveness and the number of partners who have come forward. We work now with about 140 different corporate partners just in our discovery centers with the storefronts. We have 5 discovery centers spread throughout the state of Georgia, opening our 6th in 2023. And we've got a North Star. Our North Star is 90% of middle schoolers in the state of Georgia. And so we sit at 45% today. In a matter of months, we will be touching 65% of middle schoolers. And we see our path. We see our path forward to being able to touch 90%. But we're perhaps also, perhaps most proud of the fact that I think all the JA areas do such innovative things. Our contribution to that was creating and really launching out of JA of Georgia the 3DE program, which is completely a different immersive high school experience. We now have 16 of the schools in Georgia, but now that has spun off. It is a separate part of JA USA, and there are 44 schools now spread across 5 states and piloting in 5 more, with an incredible opportunity to really re-engineer high school.
Very nice. Very nice. Now, I've asked some others, what do they see, as the future of junior achievement in your area? You get a unique position because you sit on the board. You're not actually actively involved in the day-to-day, but from a board member's perspective, what do you see happening?
Again, I think one of the things that's so magical about the JA experience is the fact that the structure of the organization allows us to really align with local need and being innovative and sharing those innovations. For us, we are headed towards 90% of middle schoolers that just have such a high impact experience through BizTown and Finance Park. But when I look to the future, it is how the 3DE model has the ability to change high school as we know it. And it is almost flipping on its head the idea of a charter school. So embedded in core curriculum are case learning methodology approaches where corporate partners have the ability. We've got 170 corporate partners in our 3DE schools in Georgia. And the best analogy that I have ever heard was, or someone said to us that so often corporations, when they want to engage with a school, it's like they helicopter over the top of the wall and drop something in. And that 3DE was really a way to drop the drawbridge so that corporate partners can really engage with high school students in a way that's just so very different. And when I think of the future, I think of the power of that.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, Helene, I want to thank you for coming on once again. You have been a friend many times and come on the podcast, and thank you for
And I'm apparently almost famous, I now know. So yes.
Yes, almost famous. So, ladies and gentlemen, Helene Lawless. And Helene, I hope that you'll hang out to the end as well.
Absolutely.
So this segment, I was supposed to have been joined by Kathy Haga, who is president of the Greater Miami office. She unfortunately was not able to join us tonight. She's got some family stuff that she had to deal with. I understand that because I too am dealing with family stuff. I have a mother that is diagnosed with multiple myeloma. So I won't divulge Kathy's situation, but she is taking care of that and we wish her well. But I will say a few things about Kathy. I cannot speak completely to her office, but I can speak to the fact that Kathy was very instrumental in my becoming heavily involved with junior achievement. Now, I had been a part of junior achievement my junior year, and I think everybody can always look back and point to a few moments in time where a little nudge or a little suggestion by the right person can point you in the right way just as much as a nudge can point you in the wrong way. Well, Kathy was that person. She was the president of East Central Florida, and I had no clue how big junior achievement was. It was an after-school program for my high school. I heard that you can make some money. Wasn't a lot of money, but it was money. And I got involved with that, and our company did very well. And I met Kathy over that summer, and she suggested that I get myself to the National Junior Achievers Conference in Bloomington, Indiana. So I did, and it was a fantastic experience. And I have to say that if I had not gone to that national conference, I probably would not have joined Junior Achievement again my senior year. So not only did I join again for my senior year, I ended up becoming a staff member at the national conference and lasted another 10 years as a staff member there. And then, of course, I mentioned that I worked at the local junior top office here in Fort Lauderdale when I graduated from grad school. So all of those things, I have to point to Kathy Haga as being the person to, and it was probably more than a nudge. I'm just kind of being gentle about it, but there were some talks that we had where she told me about what she saw as potential and things that I would be good at. And I have to say that I think she was pretty much okay. But I will say that for those of you that do not know me, so I have my own business that I started after moving back to Fort Lauderdale. I worked for Junior Achievement for a couple of years and then kind of mulled around in the corporate world for a little bit trying to find my place. And it wasn't until I had a moment of inspiration where I said, you know what? I can do this on my own. And I started my business, and here we are 25 years later, still in business. And that is a tribute to junior achievement. There's other stuff that I can attribute this to, but the guiding arrow has always been junior achievement. And part of the reason is what some of the people here tonight have not shared with you is that there is this magnetism that when you get involved with junior achievement, when you attend the national conference, there is a friendship that is built that you can leave and not see each other for an entire year, show back up, and it's just like you were talking to them yesterday. It is something that is hard to explain. I've tried to do it over many years, but that is the way that has been for me. So Kathy, being in junior achievement at that time, and she had been involved with junior achievement. I found out recently that she actually started in Fort Lauderdale, and then she had gone up to East Central Florida. And I think she did one other place and then ended up here in Miami. She started in the Miami office literally the same year that I moved to Fort Lauderdale back in 1992. So since that time, she has been down here in the Miami office, and they too, along with the other stories that have been shared tonight, have grown in leaps and bounds. And I wish that she was here to give you the exact numbers, the exact impact that she has had. But I can tell you it has been outstanding. She is a pillar of the Miami-Dade community. She is well known, well liked, and I have to say that she has been a great friend, a great mentor over the years, and we can only wish her the best here. I can say that this is kind of interesting. A little comment from the chat here, Mr. Hart. Great podcast. Thank you, Uncle Marv, and all the guests that have spoken tonight. Tim, also a veteran of the National Conference, and also I think it was the Indiana office that Tim worked in. If I said that wrong, Tim, I'm sure you'll correct me at some point in time, but I see some great people out there in the chat and want to say thank you all for joining us. And we're going to continue on because we've talked about the local offices, but I think it's time that we hear something from JA National. And now we are joined by Ed Grokowski from JAUSA. Ed, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me here, Marvin.
All right, Ed, you've been sitting in the green room and watching and listening. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, these stories have been fantastic, and I'm fortunate to certainly know some of these folks in person, but just to hear their background and their story and their involvement with junior achievement, just very insightful. So it's been great to be here this evening.
Okay, so we started off the show by talking about the fact that junior achievement has, been a little heightened in the news. Some large donations. They had the appearance by the Shark Tank people on Family Feud.
Yep.
Mackenzie Scott, big donation. Nobel Peace Prize nomination. How is all this, making junior achievement national feel?
Well, we feel very good to, as you can imagine. I mean, this has been the result of, certainly several years of work. Obviously, we have a great history with the organization, but over the past decade or so, we've had a real concerted effort to really elevate the appearance of junior achievement with new partners and new communities. And I think part of what you're seeing with Mackenzie Scott and certainly the Nobel Peace Prize nomination, which was really orchestrated by JA Worldwide. There used to be a saying that junior achievement is the best kept secret, and it doesn't seem like it's a secret anymore. And I think Denise had referenced the importance of what we're doing, in light of everything that's been going on coming out of the pandemic. And I think people are recognizing that we really have an important mission, and we're just seeing the support behind that.
All right. So kind of got a sense from all the local offices what they're doing individually. Tell us what's happening at JA from a national perspective.
Well, from a national perspective, we have really stretched the bounds of what we're doing. About 7-8 years ago, we really started to emphasize digital delivery and digital support, and that means not going away from having the volunteer, but using technology to help supplement that volunteer experience and help augment what we are teaching to young people. Because as you know, technology is around everywhere, and young people can relate to it, but we wanted to keep the volunteer experience as well. The mentoring, we think that has a really important impact. It's what we've seen with social media. It's been a bit isolating, especially for younger people. And so having that human interaction, a lot of what folks experience through the JA company and through NAJAC, that we're really trying to emulate that as much as possible, even with the emphasis on technology. And so part of that is we've actually widened a lot of what we're offering in the K-12 space. And recently we announced we're also doing more now in the 18 to 25 space. I think when Lori was talking about that school to work piece, it's kind of hard to do school to work if you just kind of stop at the age of 18. And so that's really the next phase of what we're going to be working on over the next few years.
Now, is that going to be kind of like a continuation of the company program or the curriculum where you're reaching out to college students? Is there a conception yet as to how that will take place?
Yeah, so bits and pieces of what we're doing. We actually now have college level courses in entrepreneurship that we're working on, articulated credits similar to dual enrollment. So there's already some things happening in that space. And we've had all kinds of conversations around the JA company program and how we really, once the kids go through that experience, how can they take it to the next stage and have a real business? So these are all things that are going through that consideration process right now as we're planning and moving forward.
All right. Now, of course, we talked about the fact JA doesn't seem to be a secret anymore. So in terms of the things that were done by, Shark Tank and Family Feud and McKinsey Scott, is a lot of this kind of organic, or is Junior Achievement kind of, pushing the envelope and saying, hey, we're here, help us out?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I will say, I mean, when you hear the stories of what's happening in, Georgia, Fort Lauderdale, and Canton, Akron area, I mean, we have some really great JA area offices that are really getting the word out there, and I think that's certainly part of this process. And then again, I think we used to be hesitant to say that we were changing people's lives, but we've been doing a lot of research in recent years that indicates that's exactly what's happening. I mean, when I hear your story and Helene's story, I mean, JA alumni are 2.5 times more likely to start their own business compared to the general public. We've got our JA alumni survey. We found that in the country, about 27% of college graduates end up working in the field they study, but for Junior Achievement alumni, it's around 70%. So there's a lot of great stuff that's been happening through the program experience, and sharing that information, I think, is having a real impact on our partners out there.
Okay. Now, we hinted at it in the video that Junior Achievement is up for nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize. Yep. Tell us about that.
So JA Worldwide was working with the Junior Achievement folks in Norway, and the way the nomination comes is actually through the Norwegian Parliament. JA has been very active in Norway for many years, and Ashish Advani, who's the CEO of JA Worldwide, had the opportunity to meet with legislators there and really make the case for a JA nomination. We really look at it from the standpoint of peace and prosperity. So it's hard to have peace if you don't have prosperity. And I think there's a great case for all the work we've been doing and the impact we've been having in the U.S. and globally in terms of inspiring young people to start their own businesses, for example. And I will say we found out about a week ago that this year that the Peace Prize is actually going out to some human rights activists associated with what's going on in Ukraine, which shouldn't be surprising. But JA Worldwide is going to be working on getting additional nominations in the future. So, who knows, down the road, we may be getting that. So that's still going to be a work in progress.
Okay. So a lot of momentum here in the last 12 to 18 months. How do you keep it going?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Well, as you can see, I mean, you could tell the passion and enthusiasm from your guest here tonight. I think that's a really important part of it. We've got so many committed people. And what's really interesting is, with the pandemic, and you hear things like the Great Resignation. We did have a lot of leadership retire over the past few years, but I can say the folks that are coming into the organization are just as passionate and just as dedicated, and really bringing some innovation to the table. And I think I'm very optimistic about the future of junior achievement. We're just going to keep growing and moving forward.
All right. And I guess the big question is, the money isn't always going to last that Mackenzie Scott has given, and the Shark Tank were able to win and donate to junior achievement. So there's still got to be that continued source of volunteers and funding. So what are some ways that people can contribute and be involved?
Well, again, I mean, we encourage folks to get engaged with junior achievement in their community, especially from a volunteer standpoint, but also if they want to provide financial support. If folks want to go to ja.org, they can actually locate the JA office in their community to get in contact with. And beyond that, I mean, we are doing some new things now at looking at different ways of generating revenue for the organization. We're doing some things now with apps where kids can learn how to invest, which has a revenue opportunity, working with some of our partner organizations. We're also looking at some new opportunities with partners in terms of providing technology for their employees to help them learn about financial literacy. So in that 18 to 25 space. So there's a lot of different things happening that we see really kind of expanding the impact that we're having in the ways that we're able to bring resources into the organization.
All right. Sounds fantastic. And you're able to get some old timers like me back into the fold.
Well, again, and we really appreciate folks, especially those who were at NAJAC and went through NAJAC, getting re-engaged with the organization. I know for a long time, JA, I think, was a little bit lost when it came to that. I know we have some very dedicated people like Kathy and Denise who've been involved the whole time, but I think the Centennial, I think, really kind of reignited that relationship and that engagement. So we're really looking for opportunities to work more with the NAJAC folks in the months and years ahead.
And we didn't highlight it. We talked about it with Kelsey and the fact that the National Student Leadership Summit, that kind of took the place of the national conference. I know that it went through a few iterations, came, the International Student Forum, the Masters Conference and stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about the National Summit.
Yeah, so the JA National Student Leadership Summit. So one of the first things that I did, and this is actually where I met you, when I started with JA in 92, I went to the International Student Forum, which was NAJAC.
Right.
And what we're doing now, isn't on the scale in terms of the number of students impact, but I can tell you the experience is similar in terms of the impact it has on the lives of the young people who participate. I mean, we have alumni from that we still talk to and engage in different ways. But basically, it's like the JA Company of the Year competition, and we do it in Washington D.C. The kids have an opportunity to display their companies or share their companies on Capitol Hill. We have members of Congress who come through and congressional staffers. There's a pitch competition that takes place at a venue in DC, and then we have this great celebration the final night where we do the awards. So it's great. I mean, it is a smaller version of NAJAC, but again, a lot of that energy is very, very similar and very exciting.
All right. Well, I look forward to hearing more about that. And I know we had a limited amount of time and everybody kind of got compressed in there, but let me give you one last opportunity. Is there anything else that you think people should hear about the new JA and the JA story?
Well, I think, again, I think we've always known it was relevant. I think the world's discovered how relevant it is. And I think it's just a really good time to be involved with the organization.
All right. Well, Ed, thank you very much. And I appreciate you as well, taking your time. You guys got a big ship to run, and I appreciate you guys still doing it and keeping us involved, and look forward to chatting with you again in the future.
Well, thanks for having me on.
All right, folks, that is going to do it for our podcast here, our show, our live video. I want to thank you all for listening, and hopefully you will head over to the episode page and find all of the links to the local offices that we have here, as well as links for you to volunteer, to contribute, to be a part. This is something that, as I mentioned, has been very dear and special to me. And you've heard from others that, this is inspiring and empowering people to, be involved in business and, maybe start your own but helping us, make a better world. So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for listening and watching. And that's going to do it for tonight. Until next time, holla. All right. Thank you to all that stayed. And we are now going to bring everyone back out onto the stage and have a little powwow. And let's see, I think we're all going to fit here. I got get everybody. Yes, we did. Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Hey, Marvin.
Hello.
All right. So if any of you are still out there watching and listening and you have questions or comments, go ahead and put them in the chat. We'll address them. But everyone, thank you all for what you did tonight.
Thanks for having
Great
us.
fun.
Yeah.
And Kelsey, so glad you were here. It reminds us all why we do what we do.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Who's got the TV on in the background? Is it the Yankee game?
That's over.
I think that was me. Sorry about that. Forgot to shut it off before we came back on.
Trying to root for your Guardians?
I come from New York originally, so I am rooting for those Yankees.
Oh, I probably shouldn't say, but there's the score.
Yeah. Yeah. But,
Our Guardians didn't win today.
Okay, you said it, not me. In case Kim's watching.
baseball's over for us in Atlanta, so very heartbreaking.
All right. So everyone, thank you again. Lori, hello.
Hi.
So we got to get over to that. Is it still called the JA World?
It is still called. It kind of has a long name now. There are a lot of namings on the building. It's called the JA World Heisinger Center at the Lillian S. Wells Pavilion.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
So if I donate something, can we get
JA
Uncle Marvin? If I donate something, can I get Uncle Marvin there too?
Well, those two donations were $2.5 million and $5 million. So we could figure something out, Marvin, I'm sure.
See if I can stretch that out real quick. Oh my goodness gracious. So all right, who's got some questions or comments? Denise, we didn't give you a ton of opportunity to speak, so you want to anything else you want to share?
No, I've seen JA from a student's perspective, a parent's perspective, a volunteer's perspective, a staff's perspective, and the relevancy is still there. So, those who were involved in JA years ago, this is a great time to get back involved. Your JA areas, your local areas have so many ways that you can help support our mission. So,
Yeah, I will have to say I was one of those that as the changes started to be made, at least in my area, the company program was kind of, I don't think it ever went away, but as we made the move more towards the curriculum program, I found a little less of a spot for me, but I see that things are coming back and I should probably be stopping over at Lori's place pretty soon.
We'd love to have you. I think if I could, I want to give Ed on the call here a shout out. I think when I got to JA 7.5 years ago, I remember thinking as a newbie, right, with a fresh set of eyes, that we really were the best kept secret and that we weren't telling the story. And so marketing for our office, right, that was definitely one of the focuses. Ed, what you have done with the marketing way before the rebranding over the last couple of years with the videos and telling the story in a different way, especially during COVID. I thought that the pieces coming out of JA USA were phenomenal. Best things I've seen coming out of the marketing. So I want to give Ed a shout out because I think that's a big part of. I come from the world of advertising prior to this, and so I am a big believer that marketing and advertising, right, and telling the story has so much to do with, as Helene said, the fact that people want to be involved and that people are coming, right? I remember when I first got here, it was like trying to drag people to tell them the story. No, we're not just financial literacy. And now, right, often I think every one of us could say that there's a little bit of inbound coming in, right? That coming our way where people like Mackenzie Scott are coming and finding us. So Ed, awesome. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, Lori, you are in one of those positions, where some of the other offices have a much larger area to pull from. Even though you're JA of South Florida, you're really just Broward County. You're competing with the Palm Beaches, you're competing with Miami, and South Florida kind of is a hodgepodge of stuff. So what did you do to kind of really, put the name out there? Because, when I remember when I was there, and again, it was the early 90s, and there was just a few of us, so it was a lot harder for us to do. Can you name anything that really stood out as to, what made the impact?
Well, just to clarify, we actually serve a small portion of Palm Beach County. We go through Delray Beach,
Okay.
Which it's a weird situation, but we're all trying to make it work. But our focus is primarily Broward. We have a mandate with Broward schools, and I don't think most people knew that. I think for me, when I came, it was really going person by person, county commissioner, city commissioner, school board members. And they really thought that JA was just, well, it's financial literacy. That's not really what we want to do. We're not really going to fund that. And I said, well, is that what you think we do? And they said, yes. And I realized there was such a misunderstanding and a misconception of what JA is really all about. And so I started to tell, this was my party line. I still say it. What if I told you that JA was preparing the next generation of responsible consumers, taxpayers, voters, employees, and employers who create jobs? And people would look at me and they'd go, oh, that's economic development. And I'd be, yeah, that's what we do. And I think it's been really about just telling the story differently. And helping them to understand why this matter should matter to every single one of us.
Nice.
I think that's...
So one of the things I found is that as a staff member going to a business owner, a CEO, and talking to them, it kind of wasn't easy because they didn't see us as the same level. Whereas like Helene, when you go talk to people, they see you as the president of an organization, a CEO, and they see you at the same level. Do you think that it's easier in that perspective? And is there a way to bridge that gap?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Lori alluded to this as well. I think the strength of your board matters a lot, and we too have we probably have about 100 on the full board. But I will actually say one of the things that's been unbelievably gratifying for us. So we're in the process of building our 6th of what we call these discovery centers. So, where each of them, depending upon the market, 15 to 30,000 kids go through each year. when we first built Atlanta, so Chick-fil-A underwrote 10-year lease to get us started. We all of the Fortune 500s that are headquartered in Atlanta, we're fortunate to have a lot of those. The first 30 companies that came together. Clearly, you're right, Marvin. There was a peer-to-peer relationship we were able to have as directors to secure some of that earlier funding. But where our concerns started to grow when we opened the second and the third and the fourth Discovery Center, and as we started to get further from Atlanta, like, Georgia Power, Coca-Cola, like those dollars are only going to go so far. And it's been unbelievably gratifying as we've opened a Discovery Center in Dalton and in Savannah, the number of large businesses that aren't necessarily household names nationally, but large businesses where they are, the fact that the groundswell has been there, and it really almost alludes to what Lori and Ed are both talking about the pull side of it as opposed to the push side of it. Those employers want to be a part, and it means so much to us to have local businesses, that it's not just the big companies from Atlanta, that people are seeing Savannah, Augusta, Dalton, North Georgia organizations engaged. So, building up community leadership of local boards for us has also been incredibly important.
Right. Nice. Kelsey, in 25 years, do you see yourself doing this?
Hopefully.
Hanging out with people like us?
I definitely want to stay involved with junior achievement. I think definitely was unfamiliar with nonprofits in general, and I don't know, junior achievement has done so much for me, especially our local office. So definitely want to stay involved as long as I can and as long as they'll let me.
Denise, how does that sound?
Oh, I know how to find her now. We will definitely stay in touch. And I'm thinking, Ed, if there's a way that you're looking for young people to help with our future with marketing, Kelsey would be a great one.
Absolutely.
To work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward. I mean, we actually have alumni ambassadors at the Student Summit each year, and then of course we engage folks. I mean, I was just mentioning, how we stay in contact with JA students who've been through the program. Therese Boder was a JA alum who went through the Student Summit back in 2014, and she was from Hawaii. She came from a disadvantaged background, lived in public housing, and she credits junior achievement. She ended up going to college. She actually worked for Goldman Sachs for a while and is now living in San Francisco working for Aon, and she credits junior achievement. I actually saw her a couple of weeks ago at a conference in San Francisco. So, we love staying in touch with folks because we hear those stories all the time, and it's just great to know that there's this kind of impact. I'm glad to see that it's had a great effect on Kelsey as well.
And I mean, Marvin said it, the magnetism, I think, was the word that you used, Marvin. And it is hard to explain the craziness of the bond that we all have. And most people would think it odd. But I mean, what was exciting to me was in hearing your story, Kelsey, you had an opportunity to have an experience like that you continue to prosper from.
It's not the same as the blue and white checks, though.
No, it's not. No, there's no Briscoe, Foster, or McNutt. So yeah.
Or Coke tent.
Or a Coke tent. Yeah.
I wish that I could show it here. It's about 2.5 minutes. We just showed a video at our annual Impact Breakfast last week. And it was a video of 3 of our alumni, recent alumni. They're probably in their mid-20s. And all 3 a different path, right? But had all gone through BizTown, Finance Park, Career Bound, did the youth employment, right? Were interns for big companies. And then the entrepreneurship. 2 of them went through the entrepreneurship. And one of the students just graduated college, went back to work for City Furniture, who was the company that he interned for. Kept the connection going. Him and the CEO stayed connected, and they just hired him in their manager training program. Another one actually now has started his own company about 2-3 years ago and doing really, really well. And then the third one is a young woman who is just finishing up college soon and has worked for she did the internship as well, worked for the company, and now people are stealing her like crazy, companies that know her. And they each spoke unscripted. It was a last minute thing. I said to my marketing guy, here's 3 alumni who, I keep in touch with. Just go videotape them. Ask them about their experience. Let them just go. What came out of this unscripted, the hair on my arms came up as I watched it for the first time. By the way, I never do this because I'm a little bit of a control freak, but I did not get to see the video until like 6 o'clock that morning of the breakfast. And I was freaking but I thought, okay, I could always pull it at the last minute. When I listened and watched, I would love to send you all the link because it is exactly why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Their stories were and the impact that they talked about this having on them. For those that don't know, I have a 30-year-old with Down syndrome, and when Patrick was born, I always say that my goal, of course, besides loving him and making him happy, were to make sure that he was a responsible, productive, contributing adult. Well, then my daughter was born, and guess what? She didn't have a disability, but I wanted the same thing. Now we get to do that with 70,000 students a year and watch them transform into these amazing, young people who they're going to take over our world soon. And it's just feels so good to do what we do. Sorry, I get so passionate about this.
It's quite all right.
I do think that sometimes we miss out on the learning and the developmental experiences that volunteers have as well, though. I mean, when I was in my 20s and volunteering in, with advising company programs in Chicago, man, when my kids won Company of the Year, I put it on my resume. Because I mean, I distinctly at that stage, I was probably 2 years out of grad school. But gaining, and Kelsey, you talk about being a chief marketing officer, and at your stage in life to have clarity that marketing does this and finance does that and manufacturing does that, like the thought that you can think in terms of functional area will absolutely serve you so well as you enter the working world. And that's true for young volunteers with us as well. The insights and the perspectives that they get are incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things about the volunteer experience, and I was not a junior achievement student, but I did volunteer very early on, and that's really what kind of got me fired up for the organization. In fact, NAJAC, the best week of your life. Volunteering for it or working on that event was certainly that way for me. But I think what happens with a lot of folks when you go into the classroom and you share your experience, you kind of reignite why you do what you do. I think sometimes people forget it when you get through the day-to-day, but when you're talking to some young people and they get excited about what it is that you do, it's like, wow, maybe what I'm doing is pretty cool. And so there is a developmental thing, especially with young employees in terms of getting the confidence of presenting yourself, time management, organizing, all that. So there's all kinds of benefits about it that we probably should be talking about a bit more, because we are coming out of the pandemic, the recruitment thing is still sort of a challenge because you do have these folks working from home and things like that. So those are certainly things that we need to take a closer look at.
Well, now that we're out of the recorded period and the live period, I'll tell a story. I brought a group. I was doing a high potential program inside one of my clients, and I brought them to our Discovery Center for a day. So we were the volunteer base for Finance Park that day. And I will just say it's a company that was kind of in a very nice area of Atlanta, not a particularly broad demographic in the employee base. And when we were in Finance Park, it was a school from an underserved students, not, certainly a free and reduced lunch school that was there. And what happened, I know, changed this organization. But in the middle of the Finance Park simulation, when the students are developing their budget, one of the students asked one of the volunteers, so should I budget for bail?
Yeah.
And that changed the dialogue of that company. Like the awareness and the enlightenment of a 12-year-old being conscious enough about what a family budget means and thinking about what my expenses are. And to this day, I actually think it was one of the most powerful moments in the entire high potential development program for those volunteers to have an experience. And it's one of the reasons that I do feel that the mission of the organization's just never been more relevant.
Yeah, I mean, when you engage folks in their lives, that what they live every day versus these perceptions in the media and social media, it's a world of difference. I mean, you see what people have to deal with every single day and the struggles. So no, it's very valuable.
Yeah. You know, we could all talk about this all night, right, Mark?
Yes, I do. And I think what I'll do is go ahead and I'll end off the live show here, and we can all stay and hang out and chat.
One thing, Marvin, so I did notice Tim Hart, and I don't know if he's still on, but he was asking about the plan for rolling out the company program nationally, and I'd like to address that real quick if possible. Okay. So we have been investing a great deal of funding in the JA company program in recent years. In fact, the Hartford, the insurance companies actually really helped us redevelop it, and I think we're in a second iteration of it. There is a commitment to. I know Jack Kozakowski, our CEO, was a JA kid, and he's very passionate about it. I think one of the challenges is it's more involved than some of the other things that we're doing in terms of the lifting up the program. But I do think with this work now in the 18 to 25 space, I think there's going to be more of an incentive to find ways to expand it. I think we're reaching around 10,000 kids a year with it right now. I think we would love to be. I think our goal initially with the Hartford was to try to get back up to 100,000, and we just weren't able to do it. But I think now with this 18 to 25 focus and the ability to get it past the student company into real enterprises for these kids, I think you're going to see a new focus on that. So hopefully we're able to expand the impact of that program because it's super valuable. And we hear stories all the time from folks who went through it and the life, how it's affected their lives. So we are committed to it. It's just we're trying to figure out how to really expand that.
All right. Hope you got your answer there, Tim Hart, who we referenced earlier, and he did correct us that he was with JA Central Indiana. So thank you, Tim, for hanging out, and a shout out to Lori, the Rookie Castle, so another NAJAC alum, and then also to Warren. Brought back a lot of memories, achiever in Miami, NAJAC, and center manager in Atlanta. So a lot of people remembering their days in junior achievement. So that's going to do it, folks. We're going to end off the live show. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll probably do this again sometime. So we'll see you then. Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
Thanks, Marvin.
Thanks, Marvin.
Thank you.